Welcome to Safe Skies with Lia Tuso, the ultimate podcast about flying with kids. I'm your host, Lia, a child passenger safety technician, frequent flyer mom, and passionate advocate for making travel safer and less stressful for families. Whether you're flying with a newborn, navigating TSA with toddlers, or wondering how the heck to fly with a car seat, this is a place to learn expert tips, professional recommendations, and gain the confidence you need to travel with your little ones. The seatbelt sign is on, so buckle up and join me for takeoff while we explore more about flying with child passengers. Welcome to another episode. I'm super excited today. We're talking about the CARES harness. If you've been following me on social media, you may already know where I stand regarding this harness device, but today we're going to walk through it together so you can have a better understanding of what it is, what it does, and what it does not. So to start, the FAA CARES harness is the only approved child restraint harness that can be used on an airplane. It's manufactured by a company called AmSafe, and it fits children who are between 22 and 44 pounds, but are under 40 inches tall. And it's really important to consider those numbers because it might seem like that's a great option for a large group of children, but actually those sizing requirements only fit a very, very small window of a child's growth. And that might be like 18 months to 3 years. My son, personally, he grew out of it at 3 years old, and then we still needed to switch to a forward-facing harness car seat in the aircraft. And the issue with younger children using it at the 22, 23, 24 pound mark is that it doesn't change the way that the aircraft lap belt fits across their body. So there's a huge risk for what we call submarining, where essentially they slide underneath the harness, which can cause more injury and a higher risk for injury to the child. So that's one thing to know. It doesn't change the way the aircraft lap belt fits across their body, and there's a higher risk for submarining. Now, when we talk about submarining, it doesn't necessarily only apply to that younger weight and age frame because toddlers are also very squirmy. So even if you have a child who's 40 pounds and 39 inches, say you're really pushing the top of the limits, a toddler is going to be a toddler, and it's very difficult to stay and maintain an upright position throughout the duration of the flight. So even with my own son, I was sitting next to him on the aircraft, reminding him consistently to stay upright, wear the harness appropriately, stop squirming around, stop trying to get out of it. So in real life practice, it fits a very small window of children, and even then, it's still difficult to use correctly. So that's one thing that we really want to get out there into the universe. The FAA has addressed their concerns with submarining, and they have concluded and stated, I think it's right on their website, that you can bring a thin rubber shelf liner or a thin piece of like yoga mat material to put it underneath your child's bum to help them maintain an upright position and avoid, kind of slouching and falling into the aircraft seat. So we definitely want to keep them as upright as possible to be using this device correctly. In addition to the logistics of using this product, we also have to consider the practicality. This is a device that means if you're using this, you've either checked your car seat or you're not bringing your car seat at all. And it's very rare that this FAA CARES harness would be considered a better or best practice for most travel families and their itineraries. The only times that this really could be considered a better or best practice is if you are traveling to a destination where you are relying exclusively on public transportation like buses and subways, and you can also get to the airport in the first place. Maybe you leave your car at the airport, you take the CARES harness on the airplane, and then at your destination, you use only buses and subways and trains. The other option would be the other scenario rather would be like,
If you used the FAA Cares harness and then you had grandma and grandpa or a friend family pick you up at the airport with a trusted, reliable car seat at your destination. So those things are very possible. They do happen every day, but for the majority of families, this is not going to be considered best practice because we want to be using the car seats at our destinations and, of course, to get to the airport safely. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Lastly, let's talk about the counterfeits. One of the biggest hurdles of this entire product is navigating the amount of counterfeit harnesses that are available, especially on Amazon. So to be clear again, the manufacturer is AmSafe. The suppliers are Kids Fly Safe or River Colony Trading on Amazon. So there's really only as of today, two reputable suppliers to purchase from. The cost of this CARES harness runs about $80. If you've purchased something for $30 or $40, that's a very strong indicator that you purchased a counterfeit product. You can then go back and look at who your supplier or the retailer was that you purchased from. I did create a YouTube with a lot more details on how to identify if you have a counterfeit CARES harness. So you can go on my YouTube page and you can watch that. But I do want to just bring to everyone's attention the importance of using the real legitimate $80+ CARES harness versus a counterfeit knockoff that might cost $30 or $40 but looks identical. They are not identical. One has been crash tested to the standards required for child restraint system use. The others have not, which essentially means they lack the material integrity, strength testing, and flammability requirements of a child restraint system. So during impact or force, when you really are counting on that product, it will not perform as intended. So it's definitely critical to avoid a counterfeit product. If you're a flight attendant or cabin crew and you're wondering how to identify the counterfeits on your aircraft, head back to that YouTube video because it will help you as well. So all in all, this is a really great product when it's used correctly, and you don't need to be worrying about a car seat in the vehicles during your travels at all. So something to consider. I hope you learned a little bit more about the FAA Cares harness. If you're not sure if it's a great option for your child, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram messaging. And remember, I don't recommend this over a car seat. I always tell caregivers to use their car seat on board, and then if they choose not to do so, then you can consider looking into the FAA Cares harness.